After my stand-in identity was exposed, he went crazy looking for me. The man I had secretly loved for years had gone blind, and I had pretended to be his fiancée, taking care of him for a year. But when the real one returned, I was cast out of the villa like a discarded pawn. I left, disappearing into a foreign land, never knowing he was desperately searching for me back home. "Lucas, it's time for your medicine." Lowering my voice, I stepped into the dimly lit bedroom, carrying a glass of water. The man sitting on the edge of the bed turned his head slightly. The golden hues of the sunset kissed his chiseled face, giving him an ethereal glow. But his once sharp eyes were unfocused. "Why are you only coming now? You're half an hour late," Lucas complained. But the gentle smile he sent in my direction softened his words. "The company had some urgent business," I replied, mimicking Emma's tone as I placed the glass in his hand. Lucas was my husband. At least that's what he believed. In truth, I was nothing more than an imposter, a mere shadow of his childhood sweetheart. A year ago, Lucas had been in a car accident that left him temporarily blind, with no clear prognosis for recovery. His fiancée, Emma, proud and arrogant, refused to marry a blind man and fled abroad, leaving him behind. Meanwhile, my world had been falling apart. My brother suffered a heart attack and needed an urgent, costly surgery. Then fate intervened. The Smith family had been searching for someone, a voice actress who could perfectly imitate Emma's tone and mannerisms. I was the ideal candidate. With years of vocal training, I mastered her speech patterns with ease. And so the arrangement was made. I became Emma. "Honey, what's for dinner tonight?" Lucas asked, playing with my fingers as he often did. He worked from home every day, and only seemed to relax when I returned. "The housekeeper made your favorite dishes. I'll bring them up in a bit," I replied. Lucas caressed my neck, his lips brushing against my ear. I blushed, unable to push him away before he pinned my wrists down. My heart pounded. Even though we had been in this situation countless times before, each time left me breathless, terrified that I would slip up. His hand moved to my waist, resting on my stomach, his brow furrowed slightly. "It's been so long. Why is there still no movement?" Panic seized me. These things depend on fate, and work has exhausted me lately. I probably need to take better care of myself first. I lied. Our relationship was just an agreement, and I had always been meticulous in taking my pills. Lucas chuckled, his teeth grazing my ear. "Looks like I need to try harder." Sensing his intent, I immediately pushed him away. I'll check if dinner is ready." I practically fled the room, his amused laughter following me out. Leaning against the hallway wall, I pressed a trembling hand to my chest. My breath was uneven. My face flushed. Then, like a bucket of cold water, reality crashed down on me. His affection, his gentleness, it was never meant for me. Early the next morning, when I went downstairs, the servants had already packed my belongings. Vivien, Lucas's mom, stood there, her eyes full of contempt. "Here's your money. The password is your birthday." I took the card expressionlessly and turned toward the entrance. Footsteps echoed down the stairs. "Honey, when will you be back?" My throat tightened at the sound of Lucas's voice. I forced a smile. "Later. Then I'll wait for you." Looking at his handsome face, my heart wavered, but I steeled myself and walked away. Dragging my luggage to my cheap rental apartment, I finally felt free. No more pretending, no more deceit. The air in that tiny, run-down space was suffocating, but at least I no longer had to watch other people's expressions, waiting for the moment they saw through me. After my brother's surgery, I took him abroad. It was part of the agreement. When Emma returned, I was to disappear from their lives. Before I left, I saw Lucas in the news. With his vision restored, he stood radiant at a charity gala, Emma clinging to his arm. They were the perfect couple, the golden pair, admired by all. I shouldn't have cared. Yet, my mind drifted back to that high school New Year's party, where they stood side by side on stage, a dazzling sight. I had been just a spectator then. Just like now, I fell for Lucas because of a small, forgotten moment. Near our school, Where beggars were usually ignored, he had always stopped to buy them breakfast. That simple act of kindness had left an imprint on my heart. Back then, my family had been whole. My father hadn't yet gambled everything away. I had watched Lucas from a distance, admiring him like countless other girls. Then my world shattered. My father drowned in debt, and when he had nowhere left to turn, he jumped to his death. I was forced to transfer schools, juggling part-time jobs while studying. Life abroad wasn't easy. I struggled to adjust, all while caring for my recovering brother. But I worked hard. I became a vocal teacher at a small institute, playing piano at a French restaurant in my spare time. Most of the money from the Smith family had gone toward medical expenses, but there would be more costs in the future. So I pushed forward. Then fate played another cruel trick on me. Lucas walked into the restaurant. He was more handsome than ever, his vision fully restored, discussing business with his associates. He didn't even glance in my direction. Of course he wouldn't. He had never actually seen me before. Yet my hands trembled on the piano keys. My performance was a mess. The manager shot me a warning look. I excused myself, retreating to the restroom to calm my nerves. As I stepped out, I collided with someone. A phone clattered to the floor. I hurried to pick it up. "I'm so sorry." I looked up and my breath caught. Lucas stared at me. My pulse pounded. He was watching me too intently, as if trying to peel away the layers of my disguise. Forcing myself to remain calm, I checked the phone. "It's intact. Here you go." I held it out, and our fingers brushed. A jolt shot through me. I withdrew my hand as if burned. "Please check if it's working. If it is, I'll be on my way." He didn't answer. A tense silence stretched between us. Then, in a hesitant, probing voice, he murmured, "Honey?" I froze. I turned back, feigning surprise. "What did you say?" His lips parted, but he said nothing. His gaze darkened with disappointment. That night, I resigned from the restaurant. The manager, usually indifferent, suddenly tried to persuade me to stay, offering double my salary. Something was wrong. Could it be that Lucas was looking for me? I refused. Then, for days, I didn't step out of my apartment. I hid, just like an ostrich waiting for the storm to pass. But Lucas was relentless, and soon he found me. I had been hiding like an ostrich, burying myself in my small apartment, refusing to step outside. Only when I was certain that Lucas had stopped looking for me did I dare venture out again. That evening, I went to the supermarket to buy groceries, planning to make soup for William. My younger brother was 17 now, and he needed to recover soon to prepare for the college entrance exam. As I climbed the stairs to my apartment, I froze. A tall figure stood at my door, dressed in expensive casual wear that looked completely out of place in this rundown neighborhood. Lucas, his piercing gaze locked onto mine, filled with unmistakable anger. "I finally found you, Arya." He called my name slowly, syllable by syllable, as if gritting his teeth in frustration. My fingers tightened around the grocery bags. Forcing myself to appear calm, I met his gaze. "What are you looking for me for? I don't know you." He sneered, stepping forward with slow, deliberate movements. "You don't know me." A cold chuckle escaped his lips before his eyes darkened. "Then why?" He closed the distance between us in an instant, his overwhelming presence pressing down on me. "Why do your panicked reactions, your scent, match my wife's exactly?" I instinctively stepped back. My heart pounded as I found myself cornered against the wall. Before I could react, Lucas reached out and gripped the back of my neck, his face lowering as if to kiss me. Panic surged through me. I turned my head away in fright, about to scream. He covered my mouth. "Explain," he murmured, his voice dangerously low. "How long are you going to keep pretending, His nose brushed against my neck, and the almost touching proximity made my skin burn with shame and fury. "Lucas, let go of me," I managed to whisper, my voice trembling. A slow smirk curled his lips. "Oh, so now you know me." His eyebrow arched, amusement flickering in his dark eyes. I struggled to regain my composure. My flustered expression only seemed to amuse him further. After a moment, he finally released me, his fingers gently straightening my slightly disheveled collar. "Stop avoiding me," he said, his voice quieter now. I just want to talk. I swallowed hard and nodded helplessly, my eyes rimmed with red. I had originally intended to take him to a nearby cafe to talk. But when he noticed the groceries in my hands, he insisted on going to my apartment instead. I hesitated, but in the end, I couldn't refuse him. As soon as I unlocked the door, William appeared. Dressed in comfortable home clothes, he smiled at me, his pale face lighting up. "You're finally back. Are you making soup tonight?" Then his gaze shifted. The moment he noticed the man standing behind me, the air grew tense. Lucas met his eyes. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. William's brows furrowed. "Sis, who is this?" Before I could answer, Lucas let out a cold laugh. "So you like younger guys now?" I whipped around to glare at him. "What are you talking about?" But it was too late. William caught the implication in Lucas's words, and his expression darkened. In the next second, he stormed forward and grabbed Lucas by the collar. "What nonsense are you spouting? Want me to punch you?" Lucas remained unfazed, his lips curling into a smirk as he raised a hand to unbutton his sleeve. "Bring it on." I had never seen him act this impulsive, this childish before. Quickly I stepped between them, pushing them apart. "Stop it. This is my brother. My real brother." A beat of silence. Lucas blinked. His expression shifted in an instant, his hostility disappearing as he immediately smoothed out his shirt and put on a professional smile. "Oh, your brother? My mistake." He extended a hand toward William. "Sorry for the misunderstanding." William eyed him warily, refusing to shake his hand. "Who are you?" His voice was sharp with suspicion. "Don't go claiming to be family," Lucas smirked. "Oh, I'm not just claiming. I'm your brother-in-law." William's glare intensified. "The hell you are." Ignoring the tension, I dragged William into his room, forcing him to cool off. Then, I returned to Lucas, who was now seated on my couch, his sharp gaze roaming over my small, modest apartment. I took a deep breath and sat across from him. "I'll explain everything. But you have to promise me you won't do anything to my brother." Lucas's expression didn't change. "Go on." So I told him the truth, how I had taken care of him only for money, how I had been hired to act as Emma, how my brother's illness had forced me into the contract. When I finished, I couldn't bring myself to look at him. "So fulfilling marital duties with me wasn't voluntary either?" he asked, his voice unreadable. My face burned. I hesitated before replying. It wasn't entirely like that." His eyes darkened as if he was deep in thought. I braced myself, fearing that in his anger he might lash out, that he might try to take revenge on me, or worse, on William. "Mr. Smith, I'm sorry," I said softly. "I deceived you. If you're angry, I wanted to offer something, anything to make it up to him. But my mind went blank." Lucas studied my conflicted expression for a long moment. Then, to my surprise, he laughed. "I am quite angry," he admitted. "But mostly, I'm annoyed that you hid for so long." Just as I was about to respond, a sudden knock at the door interrupted us. I rose to answer it. When I opened the door, I found Jason, my neighbor. He was holding a large box, smiling. "Arya, my colleague gave me a bunch of crabs today. I remember you saying you wanted some, so I brought them over." I blinked. I had only mentioned it in passing once. I hadn't expected him to remember. "Thank you, Jason." "No need to thank me," he replied with a friendly grin. "If you need anything, just let me know." Then he glanced past me into the apartment and noticed Lucas sitting on the couch. "Oh, you have a guest?" His expression shifted slightly. "I won't disturb you then. I'll call you when dinner is ready." "Okay," I replied. Jason left and I closed the door. When I turned back around, Lucas was watching me closely. His eyes were dark, and for some reason, he didn't seem pleased. Lucas's gaze burned into me, unwavering, intense. Now that he had regained his sight, the way he looked at me made me uneasy, like he was trying to peel away every layer of my thoughts. I swallowed, shifting uncomfortably. "Mr. Smith, it's getting late. I've said everything I needed to say. If possible, let's forget about everything that happened in the past." My fingers curled tightly around the hem of my shirt. There was a bitter taste in my throat. Deep down, I was afraid of him chasing after me, afraid of never seeing him again. Lucas frowned, displeased. Forget about it? You wish. I stiffened. What do you mean? His lips parted as if he was about to say something, but then his eyes flickered toward the box of crabs Jason had given me. He changed course. I wanted to ask for your help with something. I hesitated, confused. What could I possibly help you with? A brief silence. Then his words hit me like a slap. Emma ran away again. I need someone who looks like her to marry me. My chest tightened, a sharp pang stabbing through my ribs. A stand-in, again. That's all I was ever good for, wasn't I? I forced a weak smile. Mr. Smith, I can't agree this time. His expression darkened. Why not? I can give you money or whatever else you want. It's not about the money, I murmured. I just want to live my own life. I had endured enough bitterness that year. I didn't want to go through it again. Lucas studied me for a long moment. Then he stood up leisurely, slipping his hands into his pockets. That's all right. Let me know when you've thought it over. His confidence sent a shiver down my spine, like he already knew I would come crawling back. I gritted my teeth. He was wrong. I wasn't that woman anymore. I was sure of it, until William's condition relapsed. I barely had time to think as I rushed William to the hospital. His face was pale, his breathing weak. My hands trembled as I gripped his, whispering reassurances I wasn't sure I believed myself. After what felt like an eternity, the doctor came out, his expression grim. He needs to be admitted for treatment and observation. We may need to consider surgery. My stomach dropped. Surgery. Another major expense. Later that night, I sat in the dim hospital room, staring at the savings balance on my phone. The numbers felt like a cruel joke. I let out a slow, shaky breath. No matter how hard I tried, it was never enough. Somehow, Lucas caught wind of the situation. The next evening, he appeared at the hospital. I didn't know how he found out or why he was here, but before I could question him, he spoke. I can help. I clenched my fist. I can get your brother into a better hospital. He interrupted smoothly. Somewhere he'll get the best treatment. And let's not forget, he's not a citizen here. Sooner or later, he'll need to go back to prepare for his college entrance exam. My breath hitched. He was right. William would need to return home soon, and I couldn't afford to split my focus between his health and his future. The weight of it all crushed down on me, pressing against my ribs until I could barely breathe. I stared at Lucas, my mind spinning, my heart sinking. In the end, I had no choice but to bow to reality. The plane hummed softly beneath us as we soared through the night sky. I sat next to Lucas, staring out the window, my thoughts a tangled mess. Even now, it felt unreal. I was actually going to marry the man I loved, even if it was under someone else's name. Beside me, Lucas reached out, his fingers brushing against mine in a touch that felt both foreign and familiar. If you're tired, get some rest, he said. His tone was softer than usual, almost gentle. Those dark circles under your eyes tell me you haven't been sleeping well. I instinctively tried to pull my hand away, but his grip tightened. I turned to him confused. I'm not Emma. Why are you being so caring toward me? His expression didn't change. You're about to be my wife. Shouldn't I start getting into character early? His voice was so casual, so matter-of-fact, that it sent a chill through me. Then, to my utter disbelief, he leaned back and patted his shoulder. Go ahead, you can rest on me. I stared at him speechless. Was this still Lucas Smith, the cold, calculating man I had known? Or was this part of the game? I had been running back and forth to the hospital for William, and exhaustion had finally caught up with me. The familiar woody scent of Lucas's cologne surrounded me, warm and grounding. Before I knew it, my eyes fluttered shut, and sleep pulled me under. True to his word, Lucas arranged everything for William. He was transferred to the best private hospital, given a top-tier medical team, and even provided with a tutor to help him catch up on his studies. As for me, my days were no longer my own. I was suddenly surrounded by a team of designers, stylists, and planners. Every day was a whirlwind of makeup trials, hairstyle experiments, wedding gown fittings, and venue selections. It felt foreign, During my previous engagement, I never had to deal with any of this. Back then, I had been invisible, just a shadow in Emma's place. Yet this time something was different. Vivien. I hadn't seen her since I came back. Shouldn't she have had some harsh words for me, knowing I was about to marry her son? The silence unsettled me. Lucas arranged for me to stay in an apartment near his company, claiming it was for convenience. "It'll be easier for me to keep an eye on you," he had said. I wasn't sure if I should feel flattered or insulted. That evening, after another long day, Lucas returned from work looking drained. He loosened his tie, tossing it onto the couch before collapsing into the seat across from me. I hesitated before sliding the wedding venue designs toward him. "I wasn't sure if my taste would match yours. Since all the guests will be elites, you probably know better." He barely glanced at the pages before nodding. "Whatever you like." I blinked. "You didn't even flip through them. Don't blame me if people criticize it later." Lucas leaned back, rubbing his temples. "It's our wedding. It should be what makes you happy. What does it have to do with anyone else?" His words caught me off guard. It almost sounded like he cared. Before I could dwell on it, he changed the subject. "Honey, I'm hungry." I stiffened. "Don't call me that. We're not married yet. Besides, that term of endearment should be reserved for Emma." Lucas tilted his head, as if considering. "Then what should I call you?" I opened my mouth to respond, but he beat me to it. "Arya." Hearing my name roll off his tongue made my chest tighten. The way he said it wasn't forced. It wasn't like he was addressing a replacement. Just me. My face warmed, and I quickly pushed him away, standing up. "I'll make you some noodles." After dinner, I retreated to my room, grateful for the temporary solitude. Since returning, Lucas and I had been sleeping separately. It was an unspoken arrangement that neither of us had addressed. But that night, just as I was preparing for bed, there was a knock at my door. "Arya," I sighed, walking over to open it. Lucas stood there, a pillow in his arms. His hair was slightly tousled, and for once, he didn't look like the composed CEO he always pretended to be. "The air conditioner in my room is broken. It's unbearable in this heat." I crossed my arms. "Then you can sleep on the floor." Lucas raised an eyebrow. "The master bedroom bed is huge. It would be a waste to sleep on the floor." Before I could protest, he walked past me, made himself comfortable, and very naturally lay down on my bed. I stared at him, stunned. This man was trouble. I looked at him, suddenly feeling uncomfortable. "Come sleep. What, are you shy?" Lucas raised an eyebrow, amusement flickering in his dark eyes. I tightened my grip on the blanket. "This is different." "How is it different?" he pressed. Before, when he was blind, I never thought twice about being near him. I even dared to change clothes in front of him without hesitation. But now he could see, and that changed everything. Awkwardly, I walked over and lay on the very edge of the bed, as far from him as possible. Lucas didn't say anything else. After a while, his breathing evened out, and I let out a quiet sigh of relief. But mixed in with that relief was a strange, hollow feeling. As expected, I wasn't Emma. I had no attraction for him at all. The next morning, I woke up in his arms. My heart nearly jumped out of my chest. Lucas was still asleep, his arm wrapped around me as if this was the most natural thing in the world. I swallowed hard, carefully inching away from his embrace. My movements were slow, deliberate. One wrong move, and I'd wake him up. After what felt like forever, I finally slipped free. Without looking back, I rushed to get dressed. Jason was coming back today, and I had promised to meet him. Seeing Jason again felt like a breath of fresh air. He greeted me with a smile, and even brought me a small gift from his travels. Remembering his love for spicy food, I took him to a well-known hot pot restaurant. "Didn't you plan to stay abroad long-term? Why did you decide to come back?" I asked between bites. Jason swirled his chopsticks in the broth, his expression thoughtful. "I took on a big project, so I'll be here for a while." He pushed my favorite dishes toward me, and we easily fell into conversation about our lives. I didn't tell him why I had returned. A deal to be someone's stand-in wasn't exactly something I wanted to share. Happy to see an old friend, I had a couple of drinks. It wasn't much, just enough to feel a pleasant warmth in my chest. When it got late, Jason insisted on taking me home. Downstairs, he patted my shoulder. Even though you didn't drink much, have some honey water when you get back. It'll help you feel better tomorrow. I smiled. Okay, thank you. As his taxi drove away, I stood in front of the apartment building, staring up at the windows. Inside, I knew what awaited me. Lucas, and Emma's shadow. Every time I got involved with him, it always came back to her. Suddenly, I felt incredibly pathetic. Before I could move, the front doors burst open. Lucas. He rushed out, his dress shirt slightly rumpled, his tie loose around his neck. His hair was a mess, as if he had been running his hands through it all night. He was about to get into his car when his gaze landed on me. His expression twisted. Bang! He slammed the car door shut and stormed toward me instead. I instinctively stepped back, but he caught me before I could retreat. Where did you go? His voice was sharp, laced with irritation. I winced at the force of his grip. My phone was on silent. I just had dinner with a friend. His eyes narrowed. Which friend? Jason, you've met him before. Lucas's jaw clenched. There was something unreadable in his gaze, something that sent a shiver down my spine. Chapter 7. Secrets Unraveling. Why didn't you tell me? Don't you know how worried I was? Lucas's voice was sharp, his grip on my wrist firm. He suddenly stopped, taking a deep breath as if trying to calm himself. I knew why he was so worked up. He wasn't worried about me. He was worried that his stand-in bride had disappeared, leaving him without a solution to his problem. Lowering my eyes, I struggled against his grasp. I get it. I'll tell you next time. Now let go of me. But Lucas didn't let go. He held onto my hand as we went upstairs, his expression dark and unreadable. When we entered the apartment, I immediately tried to head to my room, ignoring him completely. But he wouldn't allow it. You left early this morning and spent the whole day with him. His voice was low, dangerous. Had fun? What did you talk about? I turned to him, frowning. What does it have to do with you? I'm your fiancée. What do you think? He ground out through clenched teeth. Maybe it was because I had been drinking, but I felt bolder. I lifted my chin and retorted angrily. It's all fake anyway. I tried to step around him, but suddenly he moved. Before I knew what was happening, he grabbed me and pinned me against the wall, his body caging me in. What? You meet him and suddenly get impatient with me? His breath was warm against my skin, but his tone was anything but. I stared at him, confused. Why did he care? I wasn't Emma. He had no reason to act this way. I had already lost my self-respect. I wasn't going to lose my freedom too. Lucas, I really dislike you acting like this. His eyes darkened. Dislike? He let out a short, bitter laugh. Then I don't mind making you dislike me even more. Before I could react, he lowered his head and bit my lip. Hard. There was no gentleness, only frustration and something I couldn't quite decipher. Tears pricked my eyes. Even when he saw them, he didn't let go. Not until I started struggling to breathe. Finally, he pulled away, his fingers brushing against my swollen lips. Don't drink with other men in the future. Otherwise, next time won't be so simple. After that night, Lucas and I barely spoke. He apologized the next day, but I wasn't ready to forgive him. Why should I? I wasn't Emma, yet he treated me like this. I still reported to him whenever I left the apartment, but at home, I ignored him completely. On Saturday, I went to the hospital to visit William. The hospital lobby was busy, filled with patients and visitors. As I stepped toward the elevator, something, or rather, someone, caught my eye. A familiar figure, Emma. My breath hitched. I wasn't mistaken, it was really her. Without thinking, I followed her. She entered the obstetrics department. My heart pounded in my chest as I waited outside, confusion swirling inside me. A few minutes later, she walked out, looking pale. She was holding a test report, and 2 boxes of folic acid. My stomach twisted. She was pregnant. I stood there frozen. If Lucas found out, he'd be thrilled, right? After all, I was just a stand-in, someone who would eventually leave the stage. I quickly gathered myself and stepped forward. Emma. She stopped, startled. Her gaze swept over me before recognition dawned. Ara? I nodded. You know me? Emma let out a light laugh. "Oh, so that guy actually found you." Her reaction threw me off. This wasn't what I had expected. She seemed amused. I frowned. "Emma, aren't you supposed to marry Lucas? He said you ran away. Why are you here?" Her expression shifted into a scowl. "Huh? What nonsense is he talking about?" Before I could press further, her phone lit up. She glanced at it and immediately looked furious. "Let that guy explain it to you himself. I've got to go beat someone up today, so I'm leaving." She turned to leave, but suddenly stopped. Looking back over her shoulder, she smirked. "Oh, right. The baby isn't Lucas's. Don't misunderstand." Then, she strolled away in her high heels like nothing had happened. I stood there, completely dumbfounded. My mind was in chaos. If Emma hadn't run away, then why had Lucas lied to me? When I got home, Lucas was already there. He was slouched on the sofa, eyes closed, his suit slightly wrinkled as if he had just thrown it on. The strong scent of alcohol lingered around him. My anger boiled over. I grabbed my bag and hurled it at him. "Lucas!" He caught it instinctively, his brows furrowing in confusion. "What? You're finally willing to talk to me?" I marched over and grabbed his collar, shaking him. "You liar! Emma didn't run away at all. You deliberately tricked me, didn't you?" His lips curled into a lazy smile, and before I could push him away, he pulled me into his arms. "That's right," he murmured against my hair. "I tricked you." I froze. I had expected him to deny it, to make excuses. Not this, not a blatant confession. I clenched my fists and hissed, "You jerk!" Lucas let out a low chuckle, burying his head in my shoulder. His voice was muffled, but the weight behind his words hit me like a punch. "I am a jerk. We're even now." I blinked. "What do you mean? Didn't you trick me first?" His voice was hoarse, as if the words carried years of unspoken pain. "You said you'd come back later, but once you left, you never did." His grip on me tightened, making it hard to breathe. I stilled. "Lucas, let go of me first." His arms didn't budge. "If I let go, where are you going to go?" His breath was warm against my neck, but then... Ouch! I yelped as he bit down, his teeth sinking into my skin hard enough to leave a mark. "Are you crazy?" I gasped, trying to push him away. Finally satisfied, he pulled back slightly, his eyes darker than before. "I am crazy, Arya," he whispered. His fingers traced the mark on my neck as if to claim me. "You don't know how long I've been looking for you." His voice trembled, thick with something I couldn't quite name. I stared at him, my mind spinning. "Why, were you looking for me?" He gave me a look like I had asked the most obvious question in the world. "Because I like you." My breath hitched. "But I was pretending to be Emma, so you—" "It has nothing to do with her." He cut me off firmly. "I never liked her. And she never wanted to marry me either." My chest tightened. "Then, you knew? From the beginning?" Lucas stroked my hair, his touch unbearably gentle. "Of course. Emma would never play the piano. She'd never have calluses on her fingers. And she would never take care of me the way you do." I felt something crack inside me. For so long, I had carried the weight of being a replacement, of pretending to be someone I wasn't. But the guilt, the hesitation melted away. Because Lucas had never been deceived. Because he had always known it was me. Tears welled in my eyes. "How did you find out?" I asked softly. He smiled. "You're the only one who ever treated me like this. The only one I wanted to be with." My nose stung and suddenly the tears spilled over. Lucas panicked, wiping them away clumsily. "Honey, don't cry." His voice was so soft, so full of warmth, that my heart squeezed painfully. I had spent years thinking my feelings were one-sided. But now, the boy I had secretly liked was looking at me like I was his whole world. "Lucas, all this time..." His voice was thick with emotion. "Sometimes I wanted to tell you everything. I wanted to confess. But I was waiting until my eyes recovered. I wanted to surprise you." His hands trembled as he cupped my cheeks. "But before I could, you left." I sobbed harder. Lucas had never once called me Emma. He had only ever called me Honey. All this time, his gentleness, his care, had been meant for me. "Honey," he murmured, his forehead resting against mine. Have you cried enough? I sniffled. Not yet. He chuckled. Then tell me something first. Do you love me? I lowered my gaze, my face burning. I wanted to say it. But now that the moment was here, it was harder than I thought. Lucas wasn't in a rush. He only smiled, his voice teasing. Then let me ask a different question. His fingers brushed my cheek. Were you willing when we fulfilled our marital duties? Heat flooded my face. I swallowed hard. Yes. Lucas's grin widened. Your face is so red. It's too hot. I'm going to take a shower. I turned to flee, but the moment I stepped into the bedroom, I heard his footsteps behind me. I spun around. What are you doing? Lucas smirked. Taking a shower with you, of course. I gaped. Have you no shame? No. He trapped me against the wardrobe, his lips brushing my ear. I just want my wife. My heart pounded as he kissed me again, slower this time, his hands resting lightly on my waist. His voice was low and thick with emotion. I've imagined countless times what you might look like. I even secretly touched your face in the middle of the night. His fingers brushed my cheek, his touch reverent. Now I can finally see you. His forehead pressed against mine, his lips curving into a soft smile. Honey, you're so cute. He kissed me again, murmuring against my lips. I like you. I really like you. My face flushed red and I couldn't escape. In the end, he carried me into the bathroom. Honey, I want to see other sides of you too, he whispered. After we laid everything out in the open, things weren't as awkward as before. But I still avoided Lucas every day, pretending to be busy with wedding preparations. Every night he would examine me carefully, which made me feel shy. This time, I was really going to marry him, and I had to consider Vivien's side. Although Vivien was harsh, at least she hadn't mistreated me. I didn't want Lucas to be in a difficult position, so I sought help from Emma. When I found her, she was arguing with a man. To be precise, she was yelling at him one-sidedly. The man looked like a bodyguard, dressed in a suit, and he was respectfully calling her Miss. Emma glared at him angrily. Why are you only coming back now? Do you know how scared I was, you blockhead? Get lost. If I leave, you'll just cry secretly again, the man said gently. I'm sorry. Don't be angry. It's not good for the baby. He reached out to hold her hand, but she shook him off. They went back and forth like this until, in the end, the man hugged her and coaxed her for a long time. They kissed for so long that I stood there watching, unsure whether to interrupt. When Emma was in a better mood, I finally dared to approach her. Seeing me, she immediately laughed. You still need my help? Is the great Mr. Smith not satisfying you, Miss Chang? I really do have something to ask you, I said sincerely. Emma glanced at the man. What are you standing there for? Go wait in the car. Yes, miss. He responded, handing her purse to her respectfully before leaving. Emma and I sat in a coffee shop, and she ordered juice. Before I could speak, she started gossiping about Lucas and me. When she heard that Lucas had been searching for me like a madman, she laughed so hard she nearly cried. I never thought he'd actually fall in love. This is truly cause for celebration. When we were kids, he even told me seriously that when he grew up, he'd rather marry his work than marry me. Emma made a face of disgust. As if I wanted to marry him. It was clear these two were really just friends. She also mentioned that Lucas had moved out of the family mansion because of his search for me, having a big fight with his mother. I sat there stunned. He had never told me any of this. Then I realized I should do something to ease their tense relationship. Miss Chen, I wanted to ask about Lucas's mother's preferences. Emma, who had grown up with them and was well liked by Vivien, immediately understood. She flipped her long hair. You want to win her over? That's easy. Emma agreed readily. The reason, she explained, was that if I married Lucas, she wouldn't be forced into marriage anymore. We reached an agreement, and she told me some of Vivien's hobbies. Aunt Vivien is actually just tough on the outside but soft on the inside. If you want to talk about what she likes, all those jewels and such are secondary. What she wants most is a grandson. Emma, I hesitated. "Arya, why don't you pretend to be pregnant? That'll definitely work." "But, no buts. It's decided then. I'll help you. You marry him soon, so I can be free too." She excitedly grabbed my hands, and I smiled helplessly. I went back and discussed it with Lucas, and he agreed. On Sunday, Lucas took me to the family mansion for dinner. Emma was there too. As soon as we entered, Vivien's mood seemed very low. She pretended not to see us, constantly talking to Emma. I was already used to her behaving this way, so I didn't mind. Lucas held my hand and announced firmly, "Mom, I'm going to marry Arya." It wasn't a discussion, it was a statement. Vivien was stunned. The cup in her hand fell to the ground and shattered. She glared at me angrily, about to scold us. Emma quickly supported her and said gently, "Auntie, don't be angry. She's pregnant. That's why Lucas is in a hurry to get married." "Pregnant? How is that possible?" Vivien's eyes widened, her anger growing. "Arya, you vixen! How dare you!" "Mom, don't talk about her like that." Lucas frowned, stopping her. "You're even protecting her?" Vivien was so angry she wanted to scold him too. Emma took out the pregnancy test she had photoshopped. She had simply changed her name to mine. "Auntie, look, it's already 2 months along." Vivien looked at the test paper with a pale face, her hands shaking. Her furious gaze swept over to me, and I lowered my eyes, feeling inexplicably guilty. "Auntie, don't be so agitated. We went to the temple and had it read. This child is very lucky, and it's likely to be a boy. You wouldn't want the Smith family's first grandson to grow up as an outsider, would you? That would be quite embarrassing if people found out." Emma kept brainwashing her, hitting her weak spot. Vivien calmed down and glanced at my stomach. She seemed somewhat disappointed. The living room fell silent. After a long pause, she sighed and said to the housekeeper, "For dinner, add an extra pair of chopsticks." Since I was going to be with Lucas, I knew I'd have to face any challenges ahead. I thought the road would still be tough. Unexpectedly, a week later, the mansion kept sending supplements to the apartment. On the surface, Vivien didn't say anything, but it was clear she had started to accept my existence. I breathed a sigh of relief. I had eaten too many of those supplements and gained weight, so I started giving them to Lucas. As a result, he became even more energetic at night. On Friday, Jason invited me out for dinner. He had a friend who wanted to start a music school and wanted to introduce us. I had thought about starting my own music training institute a long time ago, but had put it aside due to William's illness. Now, it seemed like the right opportunity to pursue my dream again. Although Lucas said he didn't mind supporting me, I wanted to rely on my own efforts. After all, marriage and independence were two different things. I enthusiastically began planning the music institute with my partner, starting with tutoring children. Lucas would come home every day to see me busier than him, and would quietly help me on the side. He'd occasionally look over contracts and remind me about investment matters. One evening, he came out of the shower while I was still looking at documents on the computer. There was so much to prepare that I didn't feel tired at all. I could finally do what I loved. "Honey, when are you going to spend time with me?" he asked, looking pitiful. Soon, I replied. "You've said soon how many times now?" He leaned in, dissatisfied, resting his head on my shoulder. I ignored him, so he started causing trouble, touching my ears and biting my neck. "Stop it," I laughed, ticklish but unable to escape. After finishing the last task, Lucas sat nearby reading a book. I stretched and said, "Okay, let's rest." He didn't respond. "Are you angry?" I took away his book and saw his resentful puppy eyes. I laughed. "I'm working hard for our future. Don't be unreasonable." He raised an eyebrow. "I'll be unreasonable. What are you going to do about it?" "Oh, coax you, of course." I leaned in and kissed him. Lucas's gaze deepened as he looked at me with ill intent. He patted his leg. "If you want to coax me, sit here and do it." He was so naughty. I didn't wake up until noon the next day, enduring the soreness in my waist and back. I struggled to get up and sent the prepared materials to my partner for review. Lucas was energetically reading in the living room. Seeing me, he smiled. Honey, you coaxed me very satisfactorily last night. Shut up! It was Sunday, and we both rarely had free time. Lucas suggested we go on a date to experience what young couples do daily. Before we could leave, Vivien arrived. When I opened the door, I could hardly believe my eyes. The housekeeper behind her was carrying lots of bags, respectfully calling me Mrs. Smith. What are you standing there for? Aren't you going to let me in? Vivien said coldly. I hurriedly stepped aside. Lucas came forward to greet her, but Vivien remained indifferent. I poured her a cup of coffee. As I bent down, Vivien glanced at me, her expression immediately changing. Since you're pregnant, you two should be more restrained. What if you hurt my grandson? I awkwardly touched my neck, quickly pulling up my collar. It was all Lucas's fault for biting me so hard last night. Lucas put his arm around my shoulders and changed the subject. Mom, did you come over for something? Can't I come see you if there's nothing? Vivien glared at him before pointing at the supplements. These were sent by your grandfather. Remember to eat them. Thank you, Mom. Vivien looked me over, frowning. Didn't I send you nutrition supplements? Why have you gotten thinner? Before I could react, Lucas quickly explained. She's been having bad morning sickness lately and can't keep anything down. I see. Vivien nodded, showing lukewarm concern for me, but every sentence was about the child. After eating together, we were finally about to see off this great Buddha, when Vivien suddenly suggested taking me to the family mansion to be cared for during my pregnancy. She had even prepared a nutritionist for me, guaranteeing I would be well taken care of. I was startled and Lucas's face immediately changed. No. Vivien frowned. Why are you so anxious? I want to witness the whole process of my child growing up. And modern pregnancy care is scientific. It's not just about eating more. Mom, don't worry about it. I'll take good care of her. Unable to persuade Lucas, Vivien had no choice but to give up. Before leaving, she looked at us meaningfully and said, Take care of your health. Jason was still busy with his project. Ever since he learned I was getting married, his mood seemed a bit low. Recently, he couldn't stop complaining about how difficult his client was to please. The design plans were changed repeatedly, and in the end, they decided the first version was better. Yesterday, they even notified me to add a children's playroom. If it weren't for the money, I would have quit long ago. I held back my laughter and encouraged him to keep going. On the weekend, I made plans to go shopping with Emma. She was showing a bit now, and I was going to accompany her to look at some baby items. As I was about to leave, Lucas ran out from the study. Honey, where are you going? I told you I'm going shopping with Emma. When will you be back? He clung to me, asking all sorts of questions. Every time I went out, he would do this, confirming the time, place, and everything in between. I answered all his questions, and he kissed the corner of my mouth. Make sure you come back, okay? Call me if anything happens. Okay, bye, honey. He watched me enter the elevator from the doorway, obedient as a puppy. If his employees saw this, they'd probably be shocked. When I arrived at the mall, Emma was already there. As we shopped, she complained about how old-fashioned her man's proposal was, but the small diamond ring on her finger betrayed her happiness. She was clearly smiling sweetly. Passing by a men's clothing store, I wanted to go in and buy Lucas a tie. Emma rested her chin on her hand, smirking. It's obvious you really like Lucas. I remember we went to the same high school. You didn't happen to like him way back then, did you? I guiltily averted my eyes and quickly changed the subject. Which of these two do you think looks better? She pursed her lips, looking as if she had figured something out. The left one looks good. Then, she turned to me with a serious expression. Arya, let me tell you, you can't spoil men. You have to keep them on their toes. Otherwise, once they get what they want, they'll lose interest. As she spoke, her phone lit up. It seemed to be her bodyguard calling. Without hesitation, she decisively hung up, raising an eyebrow at me smugly. He'll call again, she said with confidence. I smiled. Every couple has their own way of getting along. Lucas always complains that I don't like him enough. Even though we're tricking Vivien, Lucas has never rushed me to get pregnant or tried to make our act real. He's always respected my wishes. When I got home, Lucas came over as soon as he heard the door. Seeing that I had bought him a gift, he was immediately overjoyed. He carefully examined himself in the mirror from every angle, admiring the tie as if it were the most precious thing in the world. He even posted on social media with the caption, "My wife bought it for me." The photo was taken at just the right angle, clearly well thought out. I laughed. "Look at how easily pleased you are." On the wedding day, the scene was grand, filled with people coming and going. Vivien kept boasting to everyone that she was about to have a grandson. Her mahjong friends smiled stiffly, clearly envious. After all, their sons didn't even have girlfriends. Finally, Vivien had her moment of glory, and her attitude toward me improved quite a bit. As the music started, I stepped forward in my wedding dress, my arm linked with William's. At the end of the long red carpet stood the moonlight of my youth, Lucas. He wore a black suit, his eyes filled with tenderness as he smiled at me. The host finished reading the vows. I do. We exchanged rings. Lucas's hands were shaking. I looked at him seriously and whispered in his ear, "Honey, actually, I've liked you for a very long time." His eyes reddened, filled with emotion, and in the next second, he pulled me into a passionate kiss. Sunlight poured over us, casting a warm glow over the newlyweds. It felt like a blessing from the heavens. As Lucas kissed me, the guests erupted into cheers. Rose petals rained down around us, carried by the soft breeze. I could hear Emma whistling playfully in the background, while Jason clapped loudly, his usual teasing smirk replaced by something softer. Pride, perhaps. Lucas pulled away just enough to rest his forehead against mine. His hands tightened around my waist as if grounding himself in the moment. "I love you," he whispered, his voice hoarse with emotion. My heart pounded. This wasn't part of the script. I blinked up at him, feeling my throat tighten. The years of longing, the late nights of stolen glances, the unspoken feelings. Had he known all along? "I love you too," I whispered back, my voice barely audible, but Lucas heard it. His entire face softened, his lips trembling slightly before he kissed me again. Slower this time, savoring the moment. When we finally turned to face the crowd, Vivien was dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief, though she quickly cleared her throat and pretended to be adjusting her jewelry. Lucas intertwined our fingers and raised our joined hands in the air, signaling the beginning of our new life together. That night, as we sat together in our newly decorated bedroom, Lucas pulled me onto his lap, his arms wrapped securely around me. "So, when do we start making this lie a reality?" he teased, his voice filled with warmth. I laughed, resting my head against his chest. "Patience, Mr. Smith," he chuckled, pressing a kiss to my temple. "For you, I have all the time in the world, and for the first time in a long time, I truly believed that happiness was within my reach."